On this week's show, the annual Schenkel Invitational taking place at Forest Heights Country Club in Georgia Southern with a strong showing, to say the least. We'll also send you out for baseball highlights and get an update on spring football. All that and more as we welcome you inside the Eagles Nest. Welcome inside the Eagles Nest. I'm your host, Josh Aubrey, being joined by Mike Anthony, sports editor and Georgia Southern beat writer for the Statesboro Herald. And Mike, while we might have baseball behind us, big event this past week, at least once a week out of the year, golf is featured, and we had the annual Schenkel Invitational, which featured the number 1 and number 2 teams in the nation at some point. I guess Wednesday it switched to like 2 and 5, but they were 1 and 2, Florida and Vandy coming in, along with some other pretty impressive teams. You had the host team, Georgia Southern. They've won this before, although it's only been one time. They were right there, had another opportunity, were first going into the final round, had a nice 7-stroke lead, but in golf that can disappear pretty quickly, and we saw it fall away. Then they got it back and then fell away again in the last couple holes. They do finish second. A good, with the field they had, if you would have said, hey, second place, think you'd be happy with it. But the way it happened, maybe a little frustrating.
Yeah, Georgia Southern's got to be proud of what they were able to accomplish in the 38th annual Schenkel, as you mentioned, almost winning it for the second time. Would have been the second time in 4 years if they had pulled it off. But in golf, especially college golf, team golf, it's not really about wins and losses. You can't really go into any tournament, no matter who's in the field, expecting to come out on top when there's 10, 11, 14, 15 teams in each tournament. All you can expect to do is to have your team play well, and that's exactly what Georgia Southern did, even though they did give up that lead in the final round, which, as you said, a 7-stroke lead is nothing in team golf when you've got to count 4 different scores. It's just over a stroke or so made up per player, and all of a sudden that lead's gone. But Georgia Southern played well, they finished well. Even when they look up and they see those 2 highly rated teams all of a sudden above them in the leaderboard, they fight back over the last couple of hours. They make it close and actually beat the overall team score that won it for them a couple of years ago.
Yeah, well, you had a freshman, Brett Barron, go out there and just tear it up on Friday and Saturday. And then Sunday came and they didn't even use his score. That just tells you, it's some rare air for a guy. You're playing on your home course, all of a sudden you look up on Sunday and you're leading individually and your team is leading, and I think it just kind of got to the kid. But you did have some people step up. You had locally Crawford Simmons with playing a great, you always see this, it seems like year in, year out. Somebody's playing as an individual. You wish you could use their score on your team score. It might change everything. But again, the Eagles, the way they played and hung together, even though they gave it back on Sunday through the first 9, kind of got back into the hunt and were able to get second place. And a great field, and again, the crowd turns out. And Sunday, I don't know if that wasn't probably one of the bigger crowds I've seen.
It was, and at one point you talk about that other tournament a little bit up the road that's coming up. I forget the name of it, but they talk about the Roars there on Sunday, and you heard one of those with about an hour left in the tournament, one of the first groups through, Georgia Southern, still in contention, still fighting to come back for a win, chips in for eagle on the 18th. By then, most of the crowd had gathered up at the 18th hole. Personally, I was in the 16th fairway, and you could hear it clear as day. So about as loud as you'll hear it on a golf course when professionals aren't involved.
And, of course, that was Jake's story. And luckily, I was there at 18, got some video of it, and that's among the highlights and the post-game interviews we're about to show you right here from the Schenkel from 2017. The annual Schenkel Invitational getting underway Friday at Forest Heights Country Club. We pick things up with Archer Price. A beautiful shot here on the par 5 7th hole. Puts it close and then taps it in for a birdie. Kentucky's Lucas Euler making the birdie here as he gets this long one to fall. Georgia Southern's Cody O'Toole with a nice approach shot here on the par 4. Then the birdie try. This one finds the bottom of the cup as the Eagles staying around the top of the leaderboard, moving to the par 5 7th. Stephen Fisk looking for the eagle from the fringe. And that's in. Fisk in 7th place at 3 under after day 1. O'Toole looking for another birdie, and he drops it in. Later it's Jake Story, his second shot in the bunker. Here's a good one, and he'd go on for the par save, putting it within a few feet. Later it's Vanderbilt's Will Gordon out of the sand. He sticks it close and would end up making a birdie for the Commodores. Vanderbilt ends up tied for 6th with 5 under for day 1. The Eagles coming in second at -8, right behind the College of Charleston in first. So to day 2 we go. On Saturday, the action fast and furious on the par 5 9th. Florida's Gordon Neal chipping in here for the birdie. The Gators making a run in the next group. Teammate Andy Zhang will pitch in another birdie for Florida, and he lets his teammates know about it. In the next group is Theo Humphrey of Vanderbilt. He sees his chip hit the stick and stay out. He's settled for par, and he's in second place individually after 2 rounds. The next player, Dawson Armstrong of Lipscomb, chips in for the eagle. He'd be in third place individually after day 2. Stephen Fisk of Georgia Southern with a nice touch around the green, and he'd birdie the hole. He'd be in fourth place individually, helping the Eagles to a first place finish. Brett Barron, the eagle putt. He is the leader after 2 rounds. Georgia Southern up by 7 as we move to the final round coverage on Sunday. And good crowds on hand. But the Eagles would stumble out of the blocks. Here's Stephen Fisk, misses the birdie, taps in for par. Frustration chucks the ball. The Eagles would fall out of first quickly as the Florida Gators make a run. Sam Horsfield drains the 15-foot birdie on number 5. Meanwhile, the Vanderbilt Commodores hot on their heels as well. Patrick Martin on the par 5 7th with his third shot. He'd then step up and drain the birdie as the Commodores making a strong run. The Eagles trying to hang in there. Archer Price on number 8 from about 22 feet away for birdie. He hits it. Defending individual champ Will Gordon on number 9 for the birdie as the Vanderbilt Commodores continue their strong run. We make the turn, we go to number 12, and check out the approach. A second shot here on the par 5 12th by Archer Price. Price then steps up and drains the eagle putt. Moments later, Jake Story hot on his heels. This one for birdie, and the Eagles retake first place. Georgia Southern stumbles on 16 and 17, trying to hold on for at least second place. And Jake Story from the cart path drains it for the eagle. That would help Georgia Southern to a second place finish. Individually, it was Patrick Martin from Vanderbilt with shots like this one. He'd finish the tournament at 12 under and win the individual low medalist. As for the team title, Andy Zhang helping Florida make a run and hold on. And then it's Sam Horsfield slamming the door as the Gators claim the team title at the 2017 Schenkel Invitational.
It's such a unique event in college golf, and there's a lot of love that goes into it from everyone here in Statesboro, and the crowd today that was one of the best crowds we've seen all day, really energetic and loud, and heard some great roars, and that really fired our guys up, and they played clutch down the stretch, and it took all of us to beat them, so really, really honored to win this tournament.
Good tournament for our team. We had a good year last year, winning as a team, and our roommate Will Gordon won individually last year as well. So we've had good success at this golf course, and I feel like our team had a had a good plan this week, and it came down to it. I had a good round today, and just stuck to my plan all week and was able to rattle off a couple birdies and come out on top.
I think our lead was 7 coming in college golf, that's a couple breaths. That's nothing. That's 2 holes. So for them to, get off to a slower start and to fight all the way back, I mean, hey, we just took the 2 best teams in the country and made them earn every single thing that they came here to get. And I couldn't be more proud of this team. I think we accomplished what we wanted to do this week, which was play our absolute best. We did that. Florida earned it, but we made them earn it. So couldn't be more proud of them.
Second place is not quite what we wanted going into today, but it's a great week and really proud of how my teammates played. The support that we get from the community and everybody that's helping out with this tournament, it's second to none. It couldn't be any better. We couldn't ask for more support.
All right, so still a couple of tournaments for Georgia Southern. They're at Furman, and they have another one after that, and then Destin will be the spot for the annual Sun Belt Tournament, which again will be match play, and it seems like a few people are taking the Sun Belt's lead. I know that the SEC tournament is going to be match play for the first time this year as well, which makes things pretty exciting out there. All right, well, let's move over to the baseball diamond, where Georgia Southern was able to eke out a victory, comeback victory on Friday, and then fell Saturday and shut out on Sunday. Unfortunately, we knew South Alabama was going to be a pretty good team coming in, and they kind of lived up to the hype. The Eagles able to rebound on the road at Charleston, had 2 games with the Citadel midweek, but your thoughts on where the baseball team is right now?
Well, it looked like such a promising start. You go out there, you've got your conference opener against a team that you really need to beat in the division. As you mentioned, showing a lot of fight on Friday night to come out and get a win, put themselves 1-0 ahead of a team they're going to need to stay ahead of throughout the season, but then they can't keep that momentum going. South Alabama wakes up the bats all over the Eagles on Saturday, and then on Sunday, the Eagles kind of leave the bats at home, runners left in scoring position, left on base in general. Once again, a big problem for the Eagles as they just spin their wheels, and now things get a little bit tougher. They go out to UT Arlington this week, maybe not quite the same caliber of team as South Alabama, but certainly a good team, and anytime you're on the road, those are the ones that are tough to rack up in baseball, especially with the advantage of having to bat first and having that home team get the last ups.
All right, well, let's get out and take a look at some of the highlights from the South Alabama series and with the Citadel midweek game. The Georgia Southern Eagles opening up Sun Belt play at J.I. Clemens, taking on South Alabama. In the bottom of the first, Tyler Martin reaches on an error to bring in the first of 2 runs in the inning. Top of the third, Wells Davis for the Jags drives one to center. Logan Baldwin makes the diving catch to keep it at 2-2. The Jags explode in the top of the fourth. Travis Swaggerty doubles down the line, drives in a pair of runs to make it 6-2. Jared Barnes caps the 9-run inning with a 2-run blast to left. It was 11-2. And this one would be all Jaguars as they go on to take it by a final count of 17-6. So we move to Sunday. Georgia Southern looking for the series victory. South Alabama grabs a 2-0 lead in the second thanks to the 2-run shot to left off the bat of Jared Barnes. The Eagles find themselves in an early hole. The Jaguars with a couple in scoring position in the third inning, but Chase Cohen registers the inning-ending strikeout for the Eagles. Cohen with a career-high 9 strikeouts in the game. The South Alabama pitcher Tyler Carr would outshine Cohen. Carr would strike out the side in the fourth. He would go 6 innings, ringing up 10 Eagle batters in the process. The Jaguars would get some insurance in the 5th inning. With a runner on third, the wild pitch plates the 3rd run of the game. South Alabama goes on to shut out the Eagles in this one by a final of 5-0. Military Appreciation Night at J.I. Clemens. Georgia Southern hosting the Citadel. This one will be a pitcher's duel for the Bulldogs. Zach Tagliari towing the rubber. He was keeping the Eagle bats in check, opening up with a pair of strikeouts, including the inning ender right here. Seth Schumann on the hill for Georgia Southern. The freshman 2 Sports standout once again dealing. He gets the Bulldog batter looking here. A couple innings later, He delivers the inning-ending strikeout. Schumann would go 5 innings, giving up 2 hits and striking out 6. In the 4th, Georgia Southern will break a scoreless tie with a runner on. Cameron Hankins going to smack one in the left. The single scores Mason McWhorter. Hankins' RBI, big for a couple reasons. One, it was his first collegiate RBI. Second, it was the only run scored in the game, as Georgia Southern will blank the Citadel by a final of 1-0. Well, as you mentioned, Mike, Georgia Southern baseball on the road at UT Arlington coming up this weekend for a 3-game series. Softball at UT Arlington as well. They are currently 3-3 in Sunbelt play. Well, before we go, briefly, Mike, give us an update on how things have been going for the Georgia Southern football team as they continue spring practice, with the spring game being coming up on April 1st.
Yeah, a little bit of a segmented spring football season this year. Their first couple of practices a couple of weeks ago, then they all take off for spring break. But I'll tell you, getting out there on Tuesday morning didn't look like they had taken much time off at all. They were out there in full pads. They were getting after it again. I know everybody's wondering about the offense. We're still wondering too. It definitely seems like guys are flying around. You know, they're still putting the ball in the air, but the option is back. You see plenty of pitches. You see wide receivers, running backs equally involved in the offense. And talking to some of the coaches, wide receivers coach Justin Wood, he mentioned about how his position this year is a little different. They want those guys to be able to do their skill set, catch the ball, but they know they'll be involved running. And most importantly to me, he said that according to new offensive coordinator Brian Cook, blocking is going to be first. They're a run-first team. They've stated that. And while getting those catches will help out, no one's going to see the field unless they can be trusted to block and create running lanes before they worry about going downfield.
It seemed like a lot of those seam blocks, the blocks on the end that would typically in the past have sprung people like Matt Breida for big runs, weren't necessarily there. I don't know if that was a scheme or if that was, receivers just not being able to get it done, but that's good to hear because I know that's always important to help get on the outside. All right. Well, that'll wrap things up for now. For Mike Anthony, I'm Josh Aubrey. Thank you for joining us. Hope to see you again next week.